Let's bring in our Jets analyst, Ray Lucas, on the phone as well. Of course, you know him from our post-game shows here on SNY. Ray, what's your initial reaction to this trade?
I'm actually very happy. I mean, when you look at what this wide receiving core was lacking, it was a true number one. I think Brandon Marshall is definitely a true number one. When you look at Eric Decker and you look at Brandon Marshall, you look at a guy like Curley, you take it a step further, you talk about, Chase Amaro. I mean, this offensive weapons on this side of the football seems to be looking pretty good right now.
How much do you worry about a guy who's coming off the punctured lung, fractured ribs? Obviously, Manish just telling us they gave up a mid to late round pick to get him. Obviously, the Bears aren't giving away a true game breaker for that amount if there's not an issue of some kind, obviously health being one of them. How much do you worry about all that when you bring him in?
You don't. It's Brandon Marshall. You said it before I even came on the air. This guy, all he does is put out and catch the football, score touchdowns. Even in the down year that Chicago had last year, does he get hurt? But the majority of the time, this guy has been documented, played with injuries, and done a good job. We said this from the beginning. We weren't sure if Decker was the number one or the number two, but when you have a guy like Brandon Marshall on one side and Decker on the other, you got to think, who are they going to double? Either way, that helps out the Jets' offense.
Ray, players will always publicly say they don't pay attention to the moves that a team makes. They're just worried about themselves. Privately, they will always tell you, of course, they're paying attention. How much does it mean to this franchise and the other guys in this locker room to see a regime come in here and do something of an aggressive nature and make a big move like this?
Well, again, you look at McCagnon, he's got a lot of money to spend. There's a lot of holes on offense. There's a lot of holes on defense, and there's a lot of holes on special teams. They don't have a lot of second-tier guys that scare you on special teams. You look at the New Englands, you look at guys like, McCourty playing on special teams all the time. I think it's time that the Jets need depth, and they definitely needed a number one receiver. I thought Amari Cooper might be sexy at the sixth pick. You never know if Mariota is going to fall to that spot. But to strike out, you look at this, it's a deep wide receiver draft. No one, when you talk about a college kid coming out of college, has done what Brandon Marshall has done in his career. Now, is he going to be there for the next 5 years? I doubt it. But this guy can give you some great action from year one to year three, I think. And I think he's going to make an immediate impact.
Brandon Marshall did not necessarily always get along with Jay Cutler, who, for all of his faults, is still a true NFL quarterback. We don't know that about Geno Smith. Does this show you that the Jets are going to move on from Geno, or are they just saying, hey, we're giving you everything you need to succeed, it's on you now?
Well, there's no question to me that I don't know if the starting quarterback is on the roster right now. Geno Smith, what he showed us the last 2 years, is inconsistent football. And if you look at the playoffs, Jonas, every single quarterback, it's slow and steady. They compete. They don't turn the football over. They make great decisions with the football. Granted, Geno Smith's still young. Did he have weapons last year? Yes. But he could have used a lot more, to be honest with you. And you look at the offense right now. But I still think they're going to either draft a quarterback or maybe sign one, that's in a really bleak quarterback free agency class. So, again, it's the most important thing is if you are going to have Geno Smith be your starter, you need to surround him with weapons that can help him out immensely. Now, did we see Geno Smith use his legs last year a lot more than he did his first year? Yes, I think this is part of his game that he needs to take to the next level. But, again, it comes down to the decision-making process. You have to take care of the football. It's a passing league. And the best way to support your quarterback is to put big guys and big stars. Now, let's face it. Brandon Marshall's tall. You throw the ball in an arm's radius around this guy, he usually comes down with the football. He makes spectacular catches, also one-handed catches. So, to me, the Jets are saying, okay, if we have Geno Smith and we're not sure what we're going to get, let's put the pieces of the puzzle around him for him to be successful.
Ray, give us an insider perspective here. You know what relationships are like between players and coaches at various stops throughout their career. Obviously, there's a lot of behavioral concerns that always come into play when you're talking about Brandon Marshall. How much does the fact that Todd Bowles was on a same team with him in Miami a couple of stops ago for both of them, how much does that factor in the Jets' comfort level in making a deal, if it does at all?
It's huge. It's absolutely huge. When you're a player, the only way I can say it is, my relationship with Parcells was he was the only coach that never lied. He always told you where he stood. There was a comfort level there, and it was a 50-50. Either you loved Bill Parcells or you hated him. The fact that Todd Bowles has been around him for a while, I think Todd Bowles is probably the one that went to the GM McCagnon and said, hey, man, we got to get this guy. If they're looking to trade him, we can get him for a late-round pick. he's an immediate upgrade at the wide receiver position. So to me, yeah, it does. I think Brandon Marshall, I think he's come and he's grown a little bit. You know, the earlier problems he had when he was a lot younger, you know, I think that was being a young receiver and being hungry. I think he's a veteran now. I think his leadership in the locker room is another key component to why they brought him there. You know, you hear Brandon Marshall. Does he speak out and talk about stuff? What guy doesn't in the NFL in today's day and age? Does he want the football more? What kind of guy do you want on your team? Do you want a guy on your team that doesn't complain about getting the ball or a guy that does complain about getting the ball? I had a guy on my team that Keyshawn Johnson that told me before the snap, hey, I'm open. I said, hey, man, I didn't even tell you to play. He goes, I don't care what the play is. I'm open. That's the kind of guy that the Jets need on the roster. That's the kind of guy Brandon Marshall is, and he's an immediate upgrade for the New York Jets.